Hey, welcome to my GTE Algarve lap guide on Le Mans Ultimate. This track's got a lot of fun turns and the first turn is one of them. So as we approach the first turn, we're going to start going downhill and we're looking for a white line that goes across the ground on the left side of the track, just over here. Now, just before the track flattens up, we're going to start braking as we're still going downhill about a car length before that white line. And then we're going to be trailing the brake in towards the inside here. And make sure you don't get onto that sausage curb. That'll just bounce you straight off to the left, and we don't want that. So get near to the sausage curb without hitting it. I actually carry a little too much speed in there. I understeered mid-turn, but I got away with it. Keep at least 2 wheels on the inside curb here. You don't want to go fully outside the curb or your lap will be invalid. And for our next braking point, we're looking for that white line again on the outside of the track, and we're going to be braking about 3 car lengths before that. Pretty much as we get to the outside of the track, we're going to start braking quite hard down to first gear. Then keep it very tight, don't carry too much speed in or you'll oversteer, and don't get too much up on that inside curb. It'll unstabilize you and give you a worse exit. Now bring the car back towards the outside here. We want to make this turn as straight as we possibly can to avoid having to lift or snap into oversteer. I've got it quite cleanly here, but sometimes you might get a little snap of oversteer mid-turn. On exit, again, make sure you keep at least your left side wheels on the curb. If you go outside, then you will invalidate your lap. Now, for the next turn, it actually took me a little while to spot that there's actually boards on the fence, so we're going to use those as our braking reference. There's the 100 there. We're going to be braking about alongside that, braking quite hard initially, and then trailing the brake in towards the hairpin here. Now, for this turn, I've noticed that the track's quite cambered, and the curbed area is a bit more flat, so you don't really need to get it over that inside curb there. Just use the cambered part of the track and then pull the car in. And I got on the throttle just a little earlier there, so try straighten up the car a little bit more and then go down the throttle. Cost myself a few hundredths of a second there. Now this turn's quite an interesting one. We're looking for that white line that goes across the track there, and then starting to touch the brakes a couple car lengths after that white line, and not braking too hard. We just want to start slowing the car down a little bit, and then get on the throttle just a little bit to carry some extra speed in, and then on the brakes again just before that white line on the outside of the track there. Don't brake too hard, we don't want to lock up, but we also don't want to carry too much speed in. You'll know if you carry too much speed in because you'll oversteer into the turn. Now have a mid-apex here and just be very careful with your throttle inputs and steering inputs on exit, because it's very easy to snap into an oversteer there, so just ease it on and carry your momentum to the outside of the track, and as always don't step too far outside the curb because you'll invalidate your lap. Back towards the right to open up our entry line here to the left, and we're trying to bring the car towards the left to open up our entry line for the following right. This turn took me quite a while to figure out, but there's that marshal post that I marked out on the left side. We're going to be braking almost alongside that, maybe just slightly earlier than it, and not braking too hard because it's easy to lock up the tyres there. Now bring the car all the way towards the inside here, and you can use some of the inside curb, getting on the throttle, and again just balancing that throttle and steering input on exit to carry as much momentum as you can to the outside without snapping into oversteer. Bring your car back again towards the middle of the track to open up your entry for this long left turn here, and now we approach another difficult braking zone because there's not really any strong braking references. We have the white line on the outside of the track on the right and that service road on the grass on the left there. We're going to be braking a few car lengths before that, pretty much as we get to the outside of the track, and then trailing into the inside. Don't go too tight here. I found that inside curb's quite bumpy and it can throw you into an oversteer, and then just ease the throttle on exit here again. We don't want to snap into an oversteer. Back over to the left, and we're looking where the grass ends, where that red paint is that I pointed out on screen. We're going to be braking a car length, maybe half a car length before we get to that, and then apexing quite early in this turn, but we're also not carrying too much speed in. We don't want to drift too far out wide mid-turn. We're going to keep quite tight here and then start to get on throttle and bring the car towards the outside of the track. Now here we can step ourselves outside of the track. Just make sure we don't go too far out, obviously. Keep your right side wheels on the curb, but going this far out to the left opens up your entry line for this final turn, which is very important. Now you can cut your inside wheels just a little bit over this inside curb. Make sure you have a little lift on entry, because if you try to take it flat, you're just going to hammer the tyres and you're going to wear them super quickly. And that's another thing to mention about this track, is that the tyres do seem to wear pretty quick, so your lap times will drop off pretty early in the stint. On exit, make sure again you keep your right side wheels on the curb to keep your lap valid and to the line. And the finish line's actually a little further down the straight here, and I think this lap was a 1:39.6. Yep. And now I'm going to play through the lap again so you can see the whole thing without interruptions, as always. And then after that lap, we'll take a look at the pit entry guide. So see you soon.
on circuit 9.60.
Just before I get into the pit entry guide, I'm just going to point out something that I noticed. Now on my hot lap, just before I got to the line, you'll see on my delta that I suddenly jumped like 0.2 of a second on my previous best time. Now on that previous best time that I had set on that lap, at that very point just before I got to the line, I had a very short piece of lag, like a very short stutter, and on that particular lap it obviously cost me a couple tenths of a second. So I'm just putting it out there as an interesting point of discussion, I think. Because lag costs you time. Maybe it's just a single player mode thing, but yeah, that was interesting to me. Anyway, let's get on to the pit entry guide. For the pit entry, we're coming straight towards the right after the last turn, looking for the broken white line and also that red paint on the track that I marked as the braking reference. We're braking just before the third white line from that red paint, and then hard on the brakes and also slightly turning to the left. Make sure you don't lock up, brake quite hard down to 60 km per hour at the line, and that should be perfect. I did find this track quite difficult to learn. There's not that many sims that have a high quality version of this track available, so it took a while to get my head around it. There's some funny braking points, but I hope this guide's helped you all out. As always, if there's anything you'd like to say or ask, then feel free to leave a comment, and if you did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate if you left a like or even subscribe because it really does help out. Thank you guys for watching and see you soon.